Hey everybody, this is Josh Cates with Hero Home Service Marketing. Welcome back to the channel. It's great to see you. And we have got a really cool special guest today that is a shark in this space. I can't wait to introduce him to you here in a minute. But today's topic is from leads to loyalty, the critical sales and marketing connection for home service businesses. Listen, this is something that's been coming up a lot lately. For the companies that we work with, all we do is marketing and strategy. And so a lot of our clients are saying, Josh, as we're growing, how are we financing our fleet? What should we be talking to our sales team about? Operations, our CRM. What's happening on the internal heartbeat of our business? Like what's going on? How do we need to manage that? And how is the link between what we're doing from an operation and sales standpoint I guess, conjoined with what you're doing from a marketing and outbound strategy sales point. And I'll tell you, that's a very important question, and it's a very important business tactic to get right. We've had the pleasure of working with a couple of powerhouses over the last few years. One of our companies just recently hit 34 million and sold to private equity. One of our companies that we were consulting just hit 18 million and sold to private equity. And I can tell you, working behind the scenes with these type of powerhouse companies in this space, they know how to really dial this in, because at the end of the day, it's all about numbers and efficiency and understanding your cost of a new customer acquisition. But more importantly, it's even about operating your business like a true business. And so let's jump right into our PowerPoint today. I'm going to interview a really good friend of mine and a colleague in the industry. So here we go. Let's get into it. Again, I'm Josh with Hero Home Service Marketing, and our topic today is from leads to loyalty. Before I introduce Jason, let me just get into this. A lot of you say, well, Josh, why do you do these videos? This has been a great industry for Jason and his family. It's been a great industry for my family. I absolutely love working with home service businesses. I just think they're the heartbeat of America, and they provide the services we all need to live a comfortable life. And so I love to give back. I believe in self-education. I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe in the American dream. And I know that when marketing and strategy is done right, it can majorly impact a business. And then secondly, I love being transparent with what we do. I love helping people self-educate. If you haven't got my new book yet, The Marketing Revolution, on Amazon, go check that out. I'll give you a link at the end of the video. But we know that if we are transparent, that we will show you the tools, you will trust in those tools to grow your business, and that's what it's all about. So without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Jason here, and then I'll come back a little bit into who I am and why we're doing this show. So Jason, you and I work together with just a bad to the bone client up in the Northeast, and you're the consultant for this client as well as our director of operations, but you do a lot in this space. So tell our viewers a
Yeah.
little bit about you, how long you've been in this space, and your area of specialty.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate it, Josh. So really for me, what it is I actually was in sales. I've been in sales for a little over 20 plus years. And in that space, it was a lot in the white collar world, corporate world. I found actually I wanted to kind of get into the trades. So I did a ton of research, and in doing that, I landed on actually the HVAC, plumbing, electrical type space, right? Um, from there, transferring over to the blue collar world, that was really one thing that was a defining moment for me, because I started to figure out a lot of the tools that I learned in the corporate sales space between metrics, KPIs, and everything actually carries over very, very well into an HVAC kind of trade space. But also too, that it was something that was very highly in demand as far as understanding the sales aspect of trades, because a lot of it comes from a mindset of just kind of turning a wrench and not really a big focus on the sales side of things. And I think we'll speak on that a little bit today. But in doing that, as I kept going through one organization, I started right on the bottom in install, worked my
Mm-hmm.
way through it very quickly. And I've been in the space now for about 4 years. But really what kind of started to catapult, you could say, my career, and it was going to the business owners and talking to them of the nitty gritty, right? Getting to the micro level. Hey, what's this truck burning in? I know that I'm sitting in the seat, and then going over the X, Y, and Z with them, and them starting to kind of figure out real fast that, okay, this individual has a little bit more of an understanding of what we're looking for. And this is really an area we've been struggling on. So that really kind of launched me. I only spent about honestly 6 months in install, 6 months in service. I led a team through the trades on that, and then I jumped into sales on the actual HVAC side. Really got a good feel for that. Started building out processes and processes on the sales side. Became fairly successful pretty quickly in that. And then from there, started a consultant business, and that's where I started working with companies around the nation to be able to kind of bring them in and like I said, get them a lot more profitable and get them on the right track.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for that. Yeah, it's really incredible. I was fortunate. I've been a businessman my whole life, and I was fortunate that I had mentors when I was young because you hear, and I think Shark Tank has helped with this, right? Like the
Yeah,
terminology, at least, I think Shark Tank has done a phenomenal job educating, generations of how you should be thinking about your business. But even yesterday, I was on a call with one of our clients, and they're killing it. They're 5 million
yeah,
a year top line revenue, but there are just some basic things that when the owner and I started talking, he's like, Josh, man, I don't know this, and I can't afford not to know this. And
yeah.
the reality is we get so busy running our companies every day, and unfortunately, bad marketing companies are like bad realtors. There's plenty of them around.
Right.
And, but here's what I would say. You can't afford to not know this. And that's another reason why we
Yeah,
love doing these kind of educational videos is, if you can really, truly understand what I would consider these most basic things. What is your cost per customer acquisition? I'm not a big fan of cost per clicks. Clicks mean nothing to me. I'm a big fan of acquisition. So what is it costing me to acquire a new customer? And then lifetime value. What is that customer worth to me? I'm going to go out, I'm going to possibly charge $200, $300, $400 for a small repair that may lead to a bigger project. What is that customer worth to me? To your point, what's that truck making me?
yeah,
What kind of call volume do we have? There's a lot of metrics to look at, but what I think you and I would both agree on is if you really know the numbers of your business,
yeah.
then sales, operations, and marketing become very straightforward because we allow the data to make the decisions, not the emotions to make the
Absolutely.
decisions.
Yeah. And
So,
here's the and not to cut you off, but yeah, and the big thing is too is really you got to think it's such a daunting task when you look at someone who's let's say second generation and they're the son or the nephew or whatever, and they've been turning the screwdriver their whole life, right? And dad's been running it off of matchbooks with a pencil, and then all of a sudden they come in and they're like, oh, here's the keys to the kingdom. Good luck with it, buddy. And they're like,
yeah,
man, and like you said to your point previously, is having that mentor there. Well, a lot of them don't. Then they're like, who do I turn to?
yep,
And really, in the space, there hasn't been a lot of individuals who have been able to sit down with them, be boots on the ground, say, okay, we need to start looking at these metrics. And then here's systems that you can develop. And then this is how you implement them. And then this is the follow up to that to ensure that it's executed correctly.
yeah,
And then you gotta maintain that, right? And then there's so many things you got to tie into it, right? You got to make sure you have the proper marketing and things of that nature in order to be successful and keep it going.
right,
So those are all just really main features that as a business owner, it keeps them up at night, and it's just not something they want to sit down and dig that deep into. And even going into companies as a consultant, here's what X, Y, and Z that we need to do. I lay it all out, and you can just see that fear set in, right?
yep,
That overwhelmed look, and like, oh my gosh, like I just might as well sell. And I'm like, no, no,
yeah,
no, don't do that.
yeah,
Just give me 6 months, and I promise you, it'll all make sense, and it'll be super easy.
yeah.
But it's the fear of anything new or change, right? That's a
Yeah,
big part.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It is. It is. And I think we're all guilty of that. Our daughter's boyfriend is studying business at A&M. Super,
oh nice,
super good looking guy. He's got all the skills. He's got the look. He's got the swagger. He's got the discipline, the moral compass. And
nice.
I sent him a really cool quote on Instagram that said, sharks don't dread Mondays. Sharks wake up swimming and they're ready to
Right.
eat you.
That's
And
it.
I think too many of us, even as entrepreneurs, we dread Mondays. And I don't want my clients to dread Mondays. I want my clients
Yeah,
to get excited about Mondays and say, okay, I've got some problems I know I need to solve, but I know I've got a team and Josh and his crew and Jason and his crew, and I've got people around me that are going to help me
yeah,
solve these problems because yeah, you don't want to take, especially you spoke to, second, and we're working with a couple of third generation businesses now.
yeah,
The worst thing you can have happen, I mean, the stats of a business failing at the second and third generation are astronomical.
yeah,
And a lot of times it's just some really simple things to put in place to understand how the
yeah.
business operates so you don't get taken advantage of.
That's
Um,
it.
So let's get into the meat. Let's get into this thing today because so let's define marketing and let's define sales so that we all know that we have the playing field that we're working from. So in the context of home service businesses, marketing, you've got your key components: market research, advertising, so what we're doing organically and paid for our clients. Of course, your brand. What's the perception of your brand? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it indifferent? And then, of course, customer outreach. And there's really two ways to do marketing. You would outsource to an agency like ours that has all the specialists to do paid media, website, SEO, market research, data analysis, or you build an in-house team. What I have found most of the time is that home service businesses are primarily relying on outsourcing to an agency like ours. However, unfortunately, I also have more than enough horror stories of people that have selected the wrong agency. So what I do want to say is in my book, The Marketing Revolution, and I've gotten some flack for this, but I have part of a chapter dedicated to the questions and the things you must ask when you're hiring a marketing agency, whether it's us or anybody else. It will keep you out of hot water and it will save you thousands of dollars. I can promise you that. So there's a right way and a wrong way to hire. Let's talk about sales,
Absolutely.
Jason.
Yeah.
Explain sales as it pertains to the home service business in your world. How would you define
Yeah.
sales?
Yeah. So first thing is I'm definitely gonna kind of piggyback to you on that marketing. I could definitely, the horror stories are there. It's almost the number one thing I hear when I go into to clients is man, our marketing is junk. And then I start looking into the numbers. And I'm like, man, I just got to give Josh a call real quick and have him start tearing through it, because that's really where the biggest outlier is 90% of the time when I go in there. But as far as sales, I'll tell you what sales is not. Sales is not selling people what they don't need. But it's also not allowing your technicians to utilize that as an excuse to do nothing. So
Good point.
um, that's really that's the first thing you're always going to hear from technicians that just do not want to produce. Um, Sales when it comes to home services is absolutely making sure that you're allowing the homeowner to understand that. And two parts of this is being proactive. That is our job. We're the specialists. We're licensed for that. We're certified for it, and it's our obligation to these customers to provide a good service for them and a good experience. So when you're providing options to a customer, we're not trying to throw everything in the kitchen sink at them. But what we are doing is, one, providing that good experience, and two, it's a part of a CYA for yourself. And every person in the home service industry is going to understand the saying: when you step into somebody's home, you now have owned everything. Regardless if you touch it or not, you could be there for their toilet and now you own their sink that just broke and you did nothing to the toilet. For some reason, it just happens, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's one of the biggest problems is if you don't provide the options and you go in there for what we call just the prevailing, just the one cause you in, you got your blinders on. At that point, you could run yourself into some hot water where a customer calls back and says, "Hey, this was wrong at my house. Why didn't you catch it?" Right? Just a pipe that's connected to the same thing you work on. So for sales and home services is to provide definitely a good experience first and foremost for the customer, allowing them to be proactive and have the option to be proactive. But also too, it's for you to help yourself to cover your butt and any liabilities for you in the long run, for sure.
hmm
So
hmm Yeah. And what's your take on a technician selling? I do talk to
mm,
clients that they just don't agree with that. They think sales is sales. They think technicians are technicians. I would say for the companies we work with, the bigger, more successful companies, they have a very, whether it's Weldon Long or someone else, they have a very intentional sales process in place for their
yeah,
technicians. What's your take on that?
yeah. So that's great. Now there's gonna be two parts of it. So it's either if we're talking sales as far as full systems, I'm gonna be the first to tell you that back in the day, technicians did all the selling. They
hmm
got away from that a few years, about 10 years ago. They got away from it. They started picking up this ideology of carving out a sales department and sending somebody in there separate. Right. And then you got your sales department, right? And
hmm
then they got their whole process and system in place. What they have now identified, if you look up any statistics and data like through Nexstar, things like that, SGI, they have one, some statistics that came out. The numbers aren't and the conversions aren't where they used to be. And the reason
hmm
for that is trust. The number one thing to be successful in any type of selling position is you got to gain the trust. So when you have a
hmm
technician who has built, and I was there, I was a technician. You sit down, you talk with your customer. You bring them all the way to the finish line, but protocol says you now got to call the guy in khakis to come show them a three fold out shiny pamphlet and just walk them across the finish line. It's like it makes no sense. So a lot of times homeowners, we have now switched, and the client that I'm working with now, we have now switched to um, the sales guy. We have one sales guy that floats around, but we have opened up the door to allow our technicians to actually do the selling back to square one. And really what this does, there's a process in place. We have a 5-tier system. And once they get to tier 5, they get the option now to start selling, which gives them commission, which gives them more money. So it's a whole system built in. So you know what they're doing. But I think I am pro technician selling for sure on the full system side. Now, as far as selling just based off of their own jobs and projects, they absolutely should be doing that each and every day. And they should have a goal, and production and numbers should be in front of them every single day, every single month. For sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I would agree with that. And keep in mind, I mean, there's a portion of our portfolio. It's not uncommon for us to work with a client that's at 300-400 a year in top line revenue. They're still running all the calls and they're trying to grow their business. And our big threshold is we want that $1 million mark, right? The latest trend says that less than 5% of American business owners will hit $1 million, will basically build a 7-figure business, $1 million or beyond. So we know that if we can get a home service business to $1 million, then we're on our way to a sustainable company. But during that journey, if you are in this space and you are making calls on behalf of this business that you've started for yourself, I think that sales is absolutely critical. It's a critical trait that you learn, and there's no shortage of materials out there. So, okay, so let's do this. So let's jump from sales to kind of twofold, and I'll throw the slides back up here because what I want to talk about is I want to talk about how sales and even operations informs marketing and vice versa.
Yeah.
So first of all, customer feedback. Sales teams are the direct line to customer feedback, which should then be the direct line back to an agency like ours to say, what do people think about you day in and day out as you're making these calls? What's the word on the street of how people are perceiving your brand, your technicians, your product, your service, your warranty? And sales absolutely should be refining marketing messages and strategies, as well as marketing should be driving what we're selling, what time of year we're in, et cetera. But let's talk about market trends. What do you see and how do you use marketing to work directly with your sales and operations team?
Yeah, I mean, well, marketing is everything at the end of the day. So for us in our marketing is you got to have the quality first and foremost. You really can't. I know a lot of people focus on trying to get their cost per lead down, but that technically doesn't mean. I mean, quantity. You need to have quality over quantity is really what I'm trying to say. And just marketing in general there's so many there's phases that kind of break it up. So depending on where you are in your journey, you're not essentially going to be focused 100% on brand if you're 6 months in. It's not really going to be a big thing. You're going to be focusing a lot more on getting a number of leads to go ahead and make the sale, to increase the profit, to go ahead and then start investing in other aspects of your business. But at the end of the day, marketing for a company is going to be hands down the number one thing you're going to have to get right, because you can spin your wheels. You could also put yourself into a pocket that you don't need to be in. And that's either whether it be an area as far as income goes, or that could just be in a service type that you really don't need to be in. So I've seen both of those go very bad very quickly for companies, just based off the marketing company that they have been with.
Right. Well, now in the chart that I have up here, we've hidden the client's name for privacy, but this is another thing that I think marketing and operations that a lot of businesses, I wouldn't say get wrong. I would say is never completed is a better way to say it. So what this is basically an attribution chart. So if this is a term that's unfamiliar to you, and it is to a lot of people, it's basically how we're attributing the marketing efforts to a specific medium or vehicle that's driving those sales. So as you can see with this client here, we've got up here at the top Angie's List, current customers, their Google ads, their Google business, their website. What was really interesting with this client is he was really heavy in TV and radio, and it was making him money. But when we started attributing his new leads and his book jobs to the right channels, what we found is the new website that we constructed, his Google business page and his Google advertising, um, were performing extremely well. So his, out of his top, 4 or 5 channels, 3 of those channels were organic: his website, his Google business, and his I guess you could consider radio organic because it wasn't technically paid spots. It was more educational. But I think one thing that I see operations miss a lot of times is they don't have the structure set up of, once they acquire a new book job or a new customer, they don't have the structure set up to properly put that person in a bucket and say, this is where
Yeah.
this person came from and this is what this person is worth to our business. And I love this because once we really start knowing where a business is making money and where those customers are really coming from, then we can throttle up
Yeah.
that advertising accordingly. So what I would say is, if you're watching this video, a couple of takeaways just right out of the gate from what I'm hearing from Jason is, whatever you're doing with marketing, you as the owner, or if you're a leadership, if you're a VP or if you're a C-suite leadership in this, you need to make sure that your sales team and your marketing team are having regular weekly meetings and that you guys know intimately what is happening with both of those departments.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say that is absolutely critical is hiring a company like us or a consultant like Jason or somebody that can really help your operations side understand that when these leads and these customers are coming in, that they're being put into the right buckets and the value of that customer.
Yeah.
If you can get those things right, it's amazing how quick other things will start falling in place.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some strategies for alignment.
Yeah. And just real
This is
quick,
a good chart.
if I can add to that
Yeah, go
last
for it.
point, on that last point, getting yourself a good CRM is going to help you tremendously. So make sure you have a decent software. Don't skimp out on that or try to do it pencil and paper. This is going to help you track in this. Your data is absolutely going to be the blueprint to your business.
That's right. That is a great point. And I mean, Service Titan, House Call Pro seem to be the ones we work in the most. It seems like House Call Pro is usually more the new or startup businesses up to maybe 3-4 million a year. And then it seems like, just because of the cost and also the additional tools, Service Titan is really where the big powerhouses are playing. Do you agree with those, Jason? Do you have another
Yeah.
that you like?
No, I mean that's spot on right there. House Call Pro has definitely stepped up their game in the past 3 to 4 years, and they've kind of outdone everybody else. And then
Yeah.
yeah, definitely Service Titan is one where I specifically in my consultant business have carved out a spot where I onboard companies with just Service Titan and getting systems and because there's a ton to have to implement. If not, it just turns into a very
Yeah.
expensive paperweight or a calendar is what it turns
That's
into.
right.
So you got to be able to know how to utilize all the features. What's really
Yeah.
great, if I may do a little shameless plug for yourself, is working with Josh, as they actually have an individual on the team that knows Service Titan very well and can dive into some data and some numbers and stuff and really help companies out, which I've been doing this for a minute. I haven't seen any company have that, I guess, that segment or that arm built into their team. So kudos to you guys for
Yeah,
that.
well, I appreciate you saying that. It's funny because I tell people I'm an entrepreneur that happens to own a marketing firm. My
Yeah.
first 3 businesses, one was in healthcare, one was investments, and one was publishing. I mean, it was the furthest thing in the world from marketing, and especially from home service businesses. I mean, what I like, and I'm being completely transparent. What I love about home service businesses is it's a need. We like to
Yeah.
work really in 3 segments in our company: leisure, a necessary need, heating. You got to have a warm house or a cold house. You got to have plumbing. You got to have your house, your lights turning on. You got to have electrical.
That's it.
And then medical. You have to have a doctor. So, with this being such a needs-based business, to your point, you have to do marketing. It's not
Yeah.
optional. You have to do marketing. And if you do it right, you can grow your business. It's as simple as that. And I mean, we pay for ourselves so many times over. I mean, when our client sold in the fall of 2022 for 34 million, and I went back and looked at our annual billings, I'm like, man, I got the short end of the stick. I should have negotiated for equity.
Right.
But it's funny because you're talking about CRM, and we were talking with the client that we're onboarding next week, and they've just fired an agency, and I said, they're on House Call Pro, and I said, okay, well, what's your attribution look like? What have they set up to track your current advertising? And they're like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And I said, well,
Oh, man.
in your CRM, and we logged into House Call Pro real quick. I said, in your CRM, we should have a setup to where they've put in the Google tags and the analytics and the tracking phone and the data, so that as that's feeding into your call center or into your CRM, that we're tracking these lead sources. And they're like, nope, nobody's ever set that up for me. So
Oh, man.
to your point, our client strategy role that Heather feels is extremely important, because it almost becomes like like a small outsourced chief marketing officer, or like almost
Yeah.
even like a hybrid between like a CEO and a CMO and a COO, of like, we need to know the vehicle we're using.
Yeah.
We need to know that that's from a technical standpoint set up in your CRM. And
Yeah.
then we know how to extrapolate that data. They say bad data in, bad data out. We need to know how to extrapolate that data and make sure it's good data. So then we can
Exactly.
use that data to drive our decisions.
Yeah.
And if you do that and you're firing on all cylinders with sales, operations, and marketing, you're going to have these success stories like some of these that I'm quoting on our call today.
Absolutely.
It just all becomes a numbers game.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of start sort of trying to put a bow on this. So strategies for alignment. And Jason, you've touched on a few of these. So first of all, regular communication. I'm a huge fan of a Monday morning
Yeah.
tag up, and sales, marketing, leadership, operations, call center, whoever you want in there, get in there, talk about your goals, your
Yep.
challenges, your data, your wins, and your losses. What we do personally at Hero Marketing is we have a standing monthly meeting at the first of the month with our clients to do a 30-day look back. And we have all the data pulled. It's about a 1 hour Zoom, and we go into a lot of data, into a lot of important information that helps these clients make decisions for their next 30 days. But it's also is critically important to have internal meetings with your team so everybody knows what's
Yeah.
going on. And then
100%.
number two, integrated goals. And I highlighted something here. So in chapter 4 of my book, The Marketing Revolution, and I got a copy of that right here. It's a hoss. It's not a it's a paperweight, Jason, like you said, it's a
Yeah.
paperweight.
It's a paperweight.
But in chapter 4, I talk about setting measurable goals using KPIs, and I actually outline the most popular KPIs, what they are, how to set them, how to measure them, and how to have meetings around setting your goals with your team. So I outline all of this in chapter 4 of my book of what it all is and how to use it. So I think
Yeah.
that's point number 2.
That's huge.
And then number 3, you talked on this already, utilizing tools to facilitate collaboration. So outside of House Call Pro and outside of these standing meetings, what else do you see leads to success for teams on a week in, week out basis?
Man, transparency. That's going to be a big one. You got to be okay with talking to your teams and everybody about. I've seen companies and they're like, oh man, well, we can't share this, can't share that. They might be thinking this and they might think that. You'd be
Mm-hmm.
astounded how many employees that you currently have are okay with helping you grow
Mm-hmm.
and overcome hurdles. So
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely transparency is going to be a big part when you're trying to do these communications.
Yep.
Setting the goals. Don't be scared of numbers. You have to get goals and numbers in front of them. You're going to lose a couple of people in the beginning because they just don't want to produce, and that won't be a surprise because you probably already know who they are. But you got to get goals in front of them, and you got to know how to implement that with pay raises, right? You got to make sure you're giving people money because
Yeah,
they're not
that's
going to
right.
stick. So at the end of the day, if you can kind of tie those things together, get some sort of tier system put in place, get away from commissions, let it be base pay, and increase that base pay over commissions, you're going to find yourself to have more success. I've beta tested both, and then I've actually rolled out both, and I've seen success and failures only with one side of it. And and I come from a commission background, but that you're going to have a tough time on that side of it. So I'd
Yep.
say
Yep.
those few things there real quick would probably be a good starting point for most companies to really kind of start hammering on and iron some things out.
I love it. I love it. So just to recap, first of all, make sure you've got a great CRM. And I think most of the people watching
Mhm.
this video would of some sort. Making sure your teams are talking on a weekly basis, setting
Absolutely.
those KPIs. If you haven't done that in a while, update it. If you haven't ever done it, make that goal number 1 for Monday.
Yeah,
Sit down with your
exactly.
team and say, we need to start knowing our data better, and we need to understand this. And if you need some help, reach out to us. We
Yeah.
have long-term contracts with our clients, but we also do a lot of consulting work as well. That's just hey, Josh, I need some hours to get this set up for my team the right way.
Yeah.
I love talking with business owners. I mean, if you're successful, you and your family are happy. If I'm successful, me and my family are happy. And that is the American dream in a nutshell,
Yeah, that's
is
a
growing and
win-win.
having a thriving business. Yeah, I'm never ever going to apologize for building a business and making money and having happy clients. I just
That's
that's my favorite thing in the world. I'm in my 40s now, and so my ego is out the door because I've realized I'm not that special. But
um,
when I had a call actually yesterday on the 4th, I had a call with a client that it was a critical call. I mean, it was a call surrounding the security and ownership of their intellectual property and their website. I mean, it was a heavy call. And I mean, the client was like, Josh, like, we can't thank you enough. Like, we just don't know this stuff. And so we were able to secure their intellectual property. We were able to help them secure their website and get off of a bad contract. And so I mean, I love visiting with people. I love helping
yeah,
entrepreneurs, business owners
that's
succeed.
huge.
Yeah. So integrated strategy, customer insights. We talked about that through the attribution model of your CRM, your lead quality, your competitive advantage. And these are all free resources, guys. If y'all want a copy of my book, reach out, shoot me a message, Josh at marketlikeahero.com, or you can visit us online, marketlikeahero.com. I'll happily send out a free book. We've got our website workbook that will run you and your team through a series of questions to understand the quality of your website and how it's ranking. We have our 10 most common marketing mistakes workbook. We have a HVAC and home service specific playbook. I mean, these are resources coming from a $1 billion company with 20 plus years of experience. I mean, these are valuable resources, and I've got all these that I can send. They live online. And so if you need, like, Josh, what's my starting point? I don't know where to start with my team. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this HVAC playbook and home service playbook in your hands. It will walk you step by step through the questions you need to ask and go through with your team. It will expose areas of weakness. It will show you what you do and don't know, and it's a phenomenal place to start. And then, of course, man, a copy of my book. We've got some great people that have contributed to this book, and it's a great resource for any business owner. So, again, I hope you guys have found value in this. Jason, I thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, but I think you and I share a lot of the same passion that we are here to help companies succeed.
Yeah.
And so I hope this is something that you all have found valuable today. And just again, appreciate so much you spending some time with me today, buddy. Do you have anything else in closing you want to add?
So I always love to tell people this. Pretty much the one-liner that I like to use with my guys is that it's never over when you lose. It's only over when you quit, right? So don't give up, don't quit. Sometimes you're gonna fall flat on your face. You're gonna feel like possibly you failed. But I promise you, everybody's been there multiple times, and it's gonna happen multiple more times. But you got to just keep getting up and getting over the hurdles. It's just it's a stepping stone. So just keep moving forward.
That's right. That's right. That is, man, that is so true. As an entrepreneur my whole life, some of my biggest wins were shortly after when I was ready to throw in the towel. And
Yeah.
fortunately, I haven't gotten there yet, but I appreciate you saying that. Boy, I tell you, fear can be crippling.
Yeah.
And what we do anymore with marketing, it's as much strategy as it is psychology.
Hmm.
And I keep a network of about 25 home service business owners in my pipeline that we text a lot. We encourage each other. We share ideas. And I had a guy, I guess about 2 months ago, he closed his first six-figure deal. It was a big
Oh
multi-unit
wow.
apartment, and he's up in the Northwest. And he called me, and he's a young business owner, and he was so excited. And I said, why do you what prompted you? Like, this is a big deal, right? Like, your
Yeah.
normal billables running from, gosh, a couple thousand to 8 or 10,000. And now you're telling me you got this six-figure deal. And he
Yeah.
said, Josh, I have just had so much confidence knowing that I have people in my corner fighting this with
That's it.
me. And my website looks better. My marketing looks better. And he said, honestly, I started doing some local networking, and I just was
Yeah.
so confident in my brand. It led to meeting a architect. That architect led to meeting a contractor. And he goes, we got the deal signed, sealed, and delivered, and we're about to deliver, our biggest contract to date for our company. So
That's
there's as
awesome.
much psychology behind this,
Yeah.
knowing that you can win and you have people that want you to win, as there is strategy. The strategy is the easy part. I mean,
Yep. Yeah.
data's black and white. So
That's
if you
it.
have somebody who knows how to work with it, that part can kind of get a little bit easy with everything we have today. So, buddy, thank you so much. I hope you had a great holiday, and go enjoy your weekend. And thank you for the time.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you.